Welcome. We are on episode 3 of Between Two Tales. My name is Kevin. I'm joined by my co host, Dave. If you've watched the previous 2 episodes, you kind of know how we operate. But if you're new here, Dave, why don't you tell the people how this show works?
Hey everyone, so my name is David, and as Kevin said, I'm here to co-host today. We're on episode 3, and the way this works is we're going to take 5 randomly generated words and try to come up with a fully functioning story. However, the challenges that we have against us are we have a 90-minute clock to see if we could come up with a story in that time, something functional in that time. Additionally, at the end, we'll go ahead and run an AI system to run pretty much the same story themes and see if see how our story competes with the AI.
Yeah, exactly. There's like AI tools that are like taking over the world now. So we want to make sure that at the end, Dave and I still can still keep our jobs and we don't have to go send out new applications tomorrow.
That's right.
On top of that, our first 2 episodes kind of went long. You know, we usually go on tangents when we go on a creative burst of inspiration. So we're putting a time limit on ourselves just so we can be more decisive and keep our minds firing and just keep it narrowly focused just to see if that will spit out a better story. So the clock will start when we generate the words. I'm going to share my screen now and let's see what words we get this week. So far, we've gotten some pretty interesting ones.
Yeah, I think in our first episode we had pottery, and that was an interesting episode. I would recommend everyone go back and watch that one. And that was
Second one, we got we took like a different direction. We went from like a murder revenge tale to like a tale about mental health and
yeah.
a good message. All right, so here's the random word generator. Let's hit this one spin.
And the time
Terrify, cellar, grip, straighten, toss. All right. I'm going to stop sharing now so everyone can see our 5 words. There's some interesting words.
Yeah, I'd say so. Terrify, cellar, grip, toss, straighten. Okay.
Terrify, cellar, grip, straighten.
You know, as soon as I hear the word terrify, and it's not even stuff I like to watch, and I'm sorry for anyone who's watching who's probably gonna curse me out, but like horror films is just not something I like to watch. Um, either
Yeah,
it,
they're not
it
really my thing either.
yeah, either it gets to me and I actually am like low key tripping, or it's just ridiculous to the point where I can't stop laughing at whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Either point am I like really enjoying it. I'm just like, this is ridiculous, or oh my goodness, this is the scariest thing ever. Um,
Yeah,
but
no,
with
I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I don't think there's ever been a horror film that I watched that has truly scared me. Like, I'm
yeah,
sure like a couple jump scares have gotten me to go, ugh. But
yeah,
other than that, I haven't had like night terrors over something
yeah.
or anything like that.
I'll say as a young one, when I first saw, it's the name of the movie is not I See Dead People, but it's like the one, Bruce Willis,
The Sixth
um,
Sense.
Sixth Sense,
Yeah.
and as an adult, it's actually really not a horror film. But as a kid, when I first saw it, my mom was watching it, came in, started watching TV, and my mom was like, "You should walk out." And I was like, "No, I'm gonna stay here." She's like, "All right, but you should walk out." And it was the scene where like this ghoulish looking dead person was opening up a tent or something like this, and for whatever reason, that imagery just ingrained itself in my brain, and I was just like, horror films never ever. But
I will say what has terrified me as a kid was zombies. So I remember my uncle like he brought home the new Resident Evil game, and I was just watching him play, and these
Mm.
zombies were just terrifying me. That gave me nightmares.
Yeah,
That gave me nightmares.
Resident Evil is a special game, but it doesn't have to be horror though. I'm also thinking there's certain aspects of horror that people like. I think play itself into like thrillers, and I love thrillers, and specifically, one that always comes to mind is at least one of the first ones that always pops into my mind. Um, oh, now I've lost it, but it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman.
What's the story about? I don't remember that one.
Pretty much what happens in this. Prisoners. Yeah. So pretty much, I'll give you like the short and skinny of it. Pretty much, Hugh Jackman character, and there's also Terrence Howard in that film. They have daughters, and they are kidnapped, right? So they go missing, and it's like a father, and there's also some religious overtones, but it's basically, Hugh Jackman's character going on this like manhunt and kind of war path to find his daughter. But it takes like, and Jake Gyllenhaal is like the detective trying to locate. So it's like if Jake Gyllenhaal can find Terrence Howard's and Hugh Jackman's daughter first, then things can run the actual course of the law, right? However, if Hugh Jackman gets to the root and the basis of it, it's like vigilante, just like he's going to be the judge, jury, and executioner. You know what I mean? Like one man army type deal. And it's like this. It's like this little thing where he thinks this person has done it, and proceeds to basically torture the heck out of this guy. I think his name is Paul, the actor. He was also in the new Batman movie as the Riddler. Great actor, but he's creepy and stuff, and so his character thinks he did it. And I won't spoil it for you, and I would definitely suggest watching it. But there's a lot of complexity. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
But I think of Prisoner because you take an idea of like we've seen it before. Child gets kidnapped. I mean, that's what the premise of Taken is. You know what I mean? And I think that took place in like Paris or whatever. Child gets kidnapped, but it's kind of like the inner battle of the parent this time. Like he's very functional, a very functional parent. He knows how to hunt. He knows how to use Hugh Jackman's character. He knows how to hunt. Knows how to use weapons and so on. But it's also like an inner battle with him to stay. And one of the words is straighten, but stay on the straight path. So that's
Right.
what I think when I think of, and when you have the word like seller, it's and I think everyone saw it. It's not spelt seller. Like
Like someone who sells something.
well, it's spelled like someone who sells something, not a seller, like where you store things. But I think those ideas start to lend itself to something gritty, potentially crime
So
related.
let's officially start the timer here since we kind of went off on a little tangent. So
I have my timer going. I did
you already started. All right.
an hour and 23 minutes. I have it going here.
All right.
Left. Yeah.
So like the first thing I thought about was like someone that's in some kind of shady business selling illegal things, like on the black market or something. Obviously, you're gonna run into like some shady characters that terrify them. Maybe they sell organs.
Yeah.
This is the story of the organ seller in Squid Games. I don't know.
Wait, I'm curious. Is this on your mind because of what was going on with the guy who started what do you call that stuff, man? With the not the Tor browser, but the online black market.
Oh, Silk Road.
Silk Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I just watched something about that. He's in jail, or
I actually saw a TikTok of recently. I think it was yesterday or today. Of Vice. They do all those crazy
yeah,
interviews with random people. They did an interview with an actual organ seller, and I was like, "Wow, there. This is actually real. This is a legitimate thing that exists. It's not just in movies."
yeah, no, it is a. Well, I assume it's a real thing. I've never seen it. I'm curious. I think we're kind of warping around the same universe here, where it's like on Silk Road was where people, organ selling. I'm sure was happening before that. Anyways, it was just facilitating business opportunities outside of their network, right? Because now they can go online, et cetera, et cetera. But I think so. I'm curious. Do we want to take the point of view from? We could take the point of view of the person who's selling, sort of like our anti-hero. Uh, we could take the point of view of a detective or FBI agent, blah blah, trying to stop someone from selling, and or we could take the point of view of this poor. Well, I won't say poor gentleman. I mean, it is what it is. Um, his name is Ross, but not that we have to use his real name. But the founder of this guy of Silk Road, because that was an interesting little story. And kind of do our own thing, but he's like facilitating this thing, and it's like agents are coming after him to find out who started this, and not that they can stop it. I don't think they were able to stop it, but they just wanted to arrest whoever started this thing.
Yeah, they ended up taking it down.
Did they?
Yeah, and they seized, like, I forgot how much Bitcoin. I read this story
Uh,
last year, but they seized like millions and millions of dollars of Bitcoin. But
John.
basically, like the FBI agent, kind of had an inkling that it was Ross, and then they baited him.
Yeah,
Basically,
you're just like in the library. Um,
yeah,
went to the li- They followed him. He went to the library, whatever, and they made him think that something. I think he was trying to talk to someone, but they needed his laptop open, so they took him to the library and they made some kind of commotion behind him. He turned around, another agent came and snatched his laptop, took off running, and then all of a sudden, his agent just kind of hopped on him.
yeah.
It's an interesting little story. However, I think, all right, I'm just going to make my own gut, and then you tell me what you think and whatever you got going on. But I think a story from, I think, no, we talked about, I think removing that whole thing and just saying a story from a detective's point of view for stopping someone selling organs would be an interesting take. Um, at least we'll have a protagonist and a hero. Um, potentially, I'm sure they'll have their own vices and blah blah blah. But that might be interesting.
What if we took the perspective? I always want to challenge ourselves, just so we can go in a different direction.
Okay,
What if
okay.
we took the perspective of like a super anti-hero? Like, not we're not the person that started this whole thing that's considered the bad guy, but we're actually our character, our main character is the warlord or drug lord that's actually purchasing stuff from this middleman guy. And now it's our job to terrify him, set him straight, toss him around.
Do we want to set him straight, or he attempts to straighten out, but the crime world. It might be one of those stories where it goes. It's basically a bowl, and it's like he starts off as this villain, tries to get out, ultimately remains the villain. Um,
Yeah, or he could be on his way out, but what it they catch, they catch the Ross guy. The Ross guy's about to snitch on him for a lighter sentence.
mm,
So it has to pull him back in to uh to stop Ross from snitching, and just so he doesn't go to prison too.
Okay, let's run with it. So Ross. He's really not anything other than our propellant for this protagonist.
Yeah, we'll give him a different name.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Ross
So,
still watching this in jail. It's nothing personal, man. And in this case, antagonist would be, FBI or something like that. It's kind of centralized crime stopping thing.
yeah, probably the FBI.
CIA. I mean, it depends. If this man's worldwide, it might be a little bit of both, but I'll just put FBI, CIA for now. We don't need to know the particulars. All right, so let's clarify our main words or how we may use them, right? So black market. So are we hooked on selling organs?
No, it doesn't have to be organs. I was thinking the buyer, who was our main character and kind of the bad guy. He's not the main bad guy, but he's like a distributor. Maybe he buys like the raw materials for drugs off this off Ross's website
Yeah.
or something like that, where he buys
Well, okay, hold on. Our protagonist is basically someone who's at the top, right? So he's not getting these things, but his people are getting whatever it is, right?
yeah.
So that way it can be distributed through like a buyer, different buyers, so on. So I'm trying to think of stuff that's like heinous. Like, so somebody selling organs is pretty, it's up there because, it comes into the question of like, how do you, there's always the joke and it's really not a joke or too funny, but it's like, you go to certain places on this planet and certain countries and, you get warned about, waking up with a missing, kidney or something like this. Um, so that is something. Um,
You
I
could be buying could be buying drugs to distribute too.
yeah, I think with drugs, I feel like drugs is such a layup that
Right.
something like organs is interesting. It's not really talked about too much.
Endangered elephant tusks, ivory,
It has to be
rhino
something.
ivory.
The thing is, it has to be something that would make any person afraid. Like if someone were to, if you knew so and so guy, if he got his hands on you, or if his minions got his hands on you, you might make up with the missing lung. Like, you know what I mean? Like, though I don't, I think cutting and all this stuff and selling ivory elephant tusks is wrong. It's not gonna make me lose sleep if I'm being honest.
Right.
But someone coming after me for my body parts would make me beyond paranoid. And like, you know what I mean? One is jeopardizing my very being, potentially. Um, so I feel like something like that, or stuff around energy is always interesting. Um, whether it be gas or some kind of whatever,
Oil.
because people kill, like oil. That's right. People
Yeah.
people kill for this, especially big business. And nations go to war for this. I mean, come on, we live in America, so even if no one says it.
What is it? It's like such a juxtaposition. You know how like third world countries, the biggest cause of disease is unclean water. So maybe illegal distributor of clean water.
Yeah, maybe this is in the future, as this is a real problem, anyways, that they foresee for the future. And clean water has become scarce. And I was just, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about this, or it's a clip about it. But if you kind of use your imagination, it's like perhaps So there's already ways. It's not impossible to and I'm forgetting what the actual word is for this, but
I know what
basically,
you're talking about.
yeah, remove salt from the water so you can drink it. It can be done. It's just costly. But if we move this into the future, where it's kind of like we're forced as humanity to do this, right? Whoever controls either that technology or actual clean water reserves, where it's like the last, there's only a handful of places where you can still get clean water without having to. I think it's desalinate is the
Yeah,
word.
desalinate. Yeah.
Okay. Um, if this person came across this like spring or whatever, and it's like he controls the spring or whatever, this water source, that could be something to put onto the black market, and it can also be something that nations want to either befriend you or go to war against you. So this person would really have to have some kind of standing army almost to protect them from
Yeah. What if
from after them.
like bottled water in this world is like caviar to rich people in this world. So he's buying and distributing this clean, like real water to like the wealthy and the powerful and the that top 0.1% of individuals.
Yeah, I don't see why he would. I think if we're thinking rationally here about someone who would have this kind of control, they would be selling it to whoever's willing to pay and pay a good price. So if you're part of that, that class, the elites or whatever, who can afford it, great. If you're a part of a country, maybe that can afford it, great. If you're not, you know,
Right.
so it's like if you can pay for it, great. If you can't, maybe who thinks too
Right.
bad, too sad.
So let's just say politically and in society in this world, clean water is highly regulated and
Yeah.
mainly distributed by the government. And that's
Mm.
why what this guy is doing is so wrong in this world. It's like goes against the law.
Of circumventing the like regulations of the clean water. So instead of the governments being able to control who gets it, he's just like anyone can
Yeah,
get it. Yeah,
he's illegally obtaining and selling it for his own profit.
gotcha. Okay.
What an
I
interesting
like that
world.
because you know what? It also means that even if a government system, a certain government can afford it, he's still going around their rules and regulations, which would cause them to still be upset and want to take action, which gives us more options for drama. Okay. By the way, we have an hour and 7.
All right, so what year is this taking place in?
2023. We can predict the future.
3023.
We can predict the future. Everyone, sorry, next year is going to be hell on earth.
Buy up all the bottles of water you can right now.
Yeah, go to Costco. Was it Kirkland brand? You buy up all the water bottles. Um, let's make it year. You can make it year 3023.
All right, year 3023. In the year 3023, clean water is the scarcest resource on Earth.
Let's make it 53. 2053. So that way it feels like you could potentially, make it to that time as an individual.
All right. So in 2053,
Yeah.
clean water is the scarcest resource on Earth, even more in high demand than oil and gas.
Yep.
It's gone to the point where it's highly regulated and guarded and distributed only by the federal government. And if you're caught illegally obtaining and distributing clean water for yourself, you get the death penalty.
And probably just to make it make sense, I know there was just a headline yesterday about, I think a research lab in California figured out a way to make energy from like lasers, some kind of fusion, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as everyone tries to listen to me explain this, I am not a scientist, and I'm probably well, I know, not probably, I am very ignorant on how this works. But I read something about that, and so I'm bringing it up just for this sake. I feel like if anytime you leap into the future, there's sometimes assumptions that energy is now totally electric and blah blah and all these great advances. And the question then becomes like, all right, how do you have all these advances, but yet, you can't remove the salt from the water or whatever, right? So, in order to alleviate that, we could say all of those efforts to create new energy sources failed. So we're still relying on what we use today, which means the process is still a lot of money, blah blah. So that could be part of the backstory, where in the future it's like all the things that we thought would work didn't, and so now we are in the predicament that we're in.
The world is going through what's the opposite of an ice age? The dry age. A worldwide drought.
I think, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not necessarily wrong.
It doesn't rain anymore.
It rains acid. I forget what planet does that, but I feel like it's Venus. Anyways, okay. So just to round out our protagonist, so this man is, I won't even say high up. He is the up. He's the highest. He is the owner
He's
of
the water overlord.
the spring or whatever. And just for a quick backstory, and I won't elaborate too heavy, but just like get the ideas and assumptions that you would think that comes along with someone who probably got this water through violent means and was able to keep it. Whatever. Won through violent means back in the day.
Yeah, so he owns all these secret springs, or he knows the location and he has control over these secret springs of water.
And I also think this person kind of has to be a bit older. Like they have to be old enough to like have, they kind of gone through their water wars. You know what I mean? Like they fought for this thing, whatever. And now they're in control of it. I feel like this person's like in their 50s or early 60s or something like this. Like,
have you seen the new show Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone?
I haven't seen it, but I saw the ads for it.
Yeah, so let's make him like Sylvester Stallone's age in that. I think Sylvester Stallone's 75 in that show.
What is he in real life?
I don't think he's 75.
He might be. He's 76.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
Hey, man, Hollywood money can keep you young. I mean, that's part of what we're saying here. You get fresh water.
That's right.
Access. All right. So, cool. All right. So we'll say 60s.
65.
So owner of the spring won it through violent means back in the day, 60s. Let's just give this guy or gal a name.
And he needs a like a criminal moniker too, like the I don't know, the freshwater king, freshwater overlord, or something.
Aquaman,
Aquaman,
Aqua King.
Aqua King, H2O
All right.
King.
Here's what we really need as we come up just on the hour. So we need name, location of where this person either lives and or where their water is. If it's the same place, it can also be made up location. And then quickly we'll run into main mission and conflict. All right, some names.
Pull up the random generator.
Interesting. All the generators I'm running in today is asking me where is this person from.
Colorado. Is there springs over there?
I feel like they shouldn't be from the U.S. because the U.S. would just claim they own the land. You know, maybe
He's from Dubai.
probably. You know what? It probably makes more sense for it to be from an African nation, as various African nations are starting to build and come into their own as far as money and technology, blah blah.
Nigeria.
Yeah, sure. Popular Nigerian.
Now, is he an actual Nigerian, or did he just move there to conduct business?
Yeah, I mean, just like how people leave to go to Dubai and whatnot, it's very possible. Well, here's an interesting name. That means time of trouble. And if there's any Nigerian folks watching, I'm sorry if I butcher this. Please send us a response video, I guess, with the proper pronunciation. I think it's Iniko. Iniko.
Let's just call him Nico.
And we can call him Nico. Time of trouble. And then there's another name meaning the victor. Ajani. I might be butchering the living.
I feel like that should be his real name, but just for like simplicity purposes, you know how people sometimes do that. They just call themselves like their name could be like Unjani, but they have their friends call him like Johnny or something like.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So for like his foreign customers who can't pronounce his name, he just goes by Nico or Johnny or whichever name we
go with it, Johnny, because it means victor, and my man did win these wars, these water wars.
So what's his real name? Unjani?
Johnny, AJAN as in Nancy, I.
AJANI. A Johnny. All right, a Johnny. I mean, that's simple enough.
We'll just leave it with first names right now since we're at 57 minutes.
Yeah. A Johnny owns and controls.
All right.
Secrets.
And we said Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's where it will be. All right. So cool. Main mission.
I think the main mission here is to stay out of prison. He's gotta.
Well, here's the thing. In Nigeria, he's not doing anything wrong. However, the world wants him to play ball, and he refuses. And now, I think the main mission is to stay alive and keep control of these water springs or whatever have you.
Okay. I was thinking he gets most of his customers off of this propellant character,
Mm.
the Ross of the story, off Ross's platform.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. All right. Yeah.
And
So
then when Ross gets caught and Ross has got to snitch, that's when things get dicey for Johnny.
here's here's the thing. All right, and I'm gonna start the story outline sort of. But here's the thing. It doesn't mean that he could be extradited. But once they find out, let's just say like once FBI or whoever finds out who it is, so they get confirmation through Ross, they can't take him back to the U.S. or whatever for trial or whatever. So this is actually a CIA operative mission. The CIA tries to take him out, and it should kind of be around. Okay, Ross is a propellant, but it's still another country with a different set of rules. You can't force them to have the same rules,
Right.
even if it's illegal in one country. How like let's say he flew to the U.S. Yeah, as soon as
What if the U.S. struck a deal with Nigeria to get him to bring him down?
do you think so? That would and that's totally fine. All that means is whoever the president is, instead of getting kickbacks from him, because you can best believe that there's being some kickbacks given to whoever is in leadership to stay out of jail or to be extradited, is so much. There's so much about law and order and moral. Like there has to be like a deep religious reason why. Okay, it doesn't have to be that deep, but it has to just be like we would have to set up that the leaders of Nigeria are like, we believe this is wrong or whatever. Versus, my thing is if I think, all right, which one's more interesting? One where the story where he has to, he's going to probably go through jail and that whole thing, or he tries to stay alive with CIA trying to hunt him down in his own country, using his resources to try to defend himself from the CIA attacks.
I think he should try to stay alive, and there should be an undercover CIA agent in his henchmen.
It's like, yeah, or what do you call those people? An informant.
Yeah, an informant. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is for you. I'm not going to say that this is a really great story just yet, but I'm like, I could see this on the screen.
Maybe like his most trusted right hand man is the informant, because that's usually how it kind of pans out.
For the sake of keeping this moving, sure. I think if we have more time with it, we can reconstruct who this informant might be. Just because I feel like the audience would be like, it's most likely someone very close, which is true. But we would have to do a little bit of a shell game.
All right, fine. The informant is his mom.
His mom hates him. All right. I think we have. So basically, stay alive while the CIA has a catch.
He's on his tail.
They have a catch or kill mission out on him. All right. Real quick. Do we want to add any aspects of this like we were originally talking about? Like he was trying to get, start doing the right thing and then got stuck further into this. It might not apply.
No, I think he should just be a bad guy. And our goal is to make the audience kind of root for this bad guy.
And the way we do that is from his line of thinking. There's arguments to be made here about how the rest of the world has plundered African nations. why should he be beholden to the rules and regulations that Western worlds try to impose on African nations? I mean, that's
Maybe he does like some charitable things too. Like he provides free drinking water to the hospitals
yeah,
in throughout African nations and through to less fortunate villages and stuff like that.
yeah, that's actually a great idea. And that actually might tick off the Western nations. Like he's providing free water to only African nations. Every other Western nation has to pay, um, or it goes through this back channel, let's say. But
Like there needs to be like some good in this character, even though he's a bad person.
here's the thing with the lens of maybe how he thinks towards Western nations. I think we'll be able to get a decent amount of um, the audience at least understanding that he's not wrong. People get upset because they say, well, it wasn't me, it was past life, and it's like, well, that's all good and well, but to someone who thinks, when's my turn though? What I need my comeuppance, and we need our comeuppance. It's hard to argue like it's wrong now, but it wasn't wrong when you guys were doing it. What kind of BS is that? You know what I mean? So it's like using that kind of logic against him, and I think people actually will think he's a good person. Um, I'm
Yeah.
actually starting to think he's a good person, which is good because you need to think your protagonist is a good person, even though
Maybe the reason why you know the Nigerian government sees him in such favor, even though he's an international criminal, the previous overlord and monopolist of this money of this water was working with the Western nations and giving them most of the water instead of distributing it locally and nationally in Africa. So through violent means, whatever that looks like, maybe ran up in there, shot the place up or something, and this Johnny took over. After he took over, he flipped the script. Now he's putting a premium charge on the water to the Western nations, and now he's distributing it mostly through
yeah,
uh,
like
locally and nationally.
it used to be.
Johnny is a fan of good violence. He believes in good violence.
All right, let's get into our outline and just kind of
Yeah, let's just start from the top and see if we can bang something out.
let's just make sure we have our words to terrify. Plenty of
Seller.
instances where that can be terrified. He's selling. That's fine. Grip. For whatever reason, when I think of grip, I think of gripping um, as a negative adjective. But grip can also be like, he was gripping the ball.
Control.
Yeah, control. That's true too.
Like he has a grip over the water sources.
There you go. Made the
Or he has his hands gripped around his right hand man's neck as soon as he finds out he's an informant.
damn right. And then we have toss.
Straighten and toss.
How are we gonna work those in?
I mean, I think he should find out. I don't think he knows in the beginning that there's like an actual bounty on his head, that they're actually trying to kill him because they can't get to him through normal means.
So, how are you connecting that with straighten?
I was gonna start with toss. Like
Toss.
his comfy way of living, this life that he created. He has to toss that away for the time being.
Yeah.
Because now his life is in danger. Because now
Toss away the old life,
yeah,
and embrace the violence.
Yeah, this an actual life of like a fugitive throughout this short story.
I mean, a fugitive, but also like powerful man. Probably has. I kind of want to give this man his own militia. Straighten.
Straighten.
I imagine this kind of story has a bunch of things that aren't necessarily true, and you probably have to spend a lot of time trying. You can attempt to straighten out the record, let's say, and explaining how it's not illegal, whatever, before things get ugly and hairy.
Or, there's like, I mean, this is fiction, right? So maybe there's propaganda going around of
Right.
how the society should work surrounding water, and he tries to straighten the records out, like to
Yeah.
reveal the
It can be propaganda against just the water itself, how it should be used, and propaganda against him.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And he has to straighten it out. Um,
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Some that I just thought about something interesting. Um, Again, this is fiction, so maybe he's a bad guy, so the mayor or the president of Nigeria is taking money from him under a table, right?
yeah.
So maybe the Western nations, they catch wind of it. What if they assassinate the president and put the blame
On him,
on a Johnny?
and then try to say it's because he was trying to interrupt his water business. They put this whole backstory that's not true.
Yeah.
That really changes the whole. And I like it. Um,
And
okay.
now they have like now they created like a legitimate reason to try and kill him.
Yeah, and also maybe turn some of his own against him because they don't know what's true.
Yeah, maybe they say even if you work under a Johnny, if you kill him, you'll be relieved of all your horrible behaviors
Fine,
and you get money.
that's wild. Hold on, that is a wild premise. Um,
That's what we do here.
but it's probably in some cases kind of factual. I'm sure if you look into the history of the CIA, there's been all sorts of shady crap. I mean, I know for a fact there's been shady crap, but
Of course.
uh, okay, so besides just he has to stay alive because of that. It gives a reason for them to try and capture or kill, but it also makes his life in Nigeria hard because he doesn't know which of his countrymen
Who's on his side
on
and
his
whatnot.
side, yeah, who's on his side, who hates him, and who hates him enough to kill him or try attempt to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, we might have to take this and stop recording this podcast. This might be a film that we need to pursue.
It might it might be. Yeah, I think I have like the beginning of how this story starts.
Well, I'm yeah. Let's get to that because we're at 40 minutes. I was thinking that it starts off with Ross snitching, but go ahead. What were you thinking? Or getting caught and then snitching?
Um yeah, we could start off with that. So it could be um it could show a scene. Now I'm thinking in like
Hmm.
scenes like a screenwriter.
Yeah.
It could begin with a Johnny just got done doing a huge deal, he's shaking hands with somebody, They part ways. Shows him going back to his comfy lifestyle in Nigeria. He's got a mansion, whatever. He's got armed guards. He's got a lion.
Oh, listen. I think you also have to show a little bit of the ignorance of CIA and Americans in general when it comes to African nations. I almost see this little scene where, like, however way it is, they set up Ross or whatever. He gets captured, whatever. They sweat him out, blah blah. Okay, fine, gives up the name.
Well, look, it's
And
true.
the CIA doesn't really even know who he's talking about. The CIA is also like, who? And then, if this was like a film or something like that, then we go to Nigeria and we see that this man is just pretty much exactly what you just said, finishing up a deal, handshaking, a man of power, a man of comfort. You know what I mean? Or who has comfort. And it's like, who? It can, like, if I was writing dialogue, they'd be like, who's that? And then we have that scene that you just described.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
So Ross, it's like a white dude in his 20s. We'll have to give him another name except for Ross.
I mean, at this point, we'll keep it for the first draft. Why not?
You know what? Ross. Okay, Ross.
Man's in prison. What's he gonna do?
Now, first it should show him. He's sitting in his room. He just sees like a couple milli just hit his bank account from this transaction between a Johnny and this unknown party. He's excited. He lights up a joint, and then the FBI just bashes through his door. And they get him. And they take his laptop, and they're like, we knew you were whatever his username is. And he's like, we need to know the identity of these two users on your platform. So they take him to holding, interrogating him and whatnot. And so you're going to get life in prison. We're going to take everything from you. Take all the funds from your family too, if you don't tell us who these guys are. And then he snitches, but it doesn't show him snitching. But he cracks, right? And then it goes to Johnny finishing his deal with this guy, going back to his lavish lifestyle. He's chilling, lighting up a cigar. Maybe one of those characters where they're like a normal person, but everyone respects them. Maybe it's like a woman, a mother type character comes over. Johnny gives her like a case of water or something. And then the next day, he wakes up, turns on the TV, and President whoever is assassinated. It's all over the news. News stations are covering it. And then after that, he's like, "Ah, damn." He's like watching closely, and then his face pops up on the TV. And he's like, number one suspect, a Johnny, wanted man. And let's say there's $100 million bounty on his head. He's like, $100 million bounty, $1 million for anyone who has any information. And if you know, now this is like the U.S. person. There's a U.S. person talking, right? That's delivering this message. He's like, if you work with a Johnny and you were able to give us information that leads to his arrest, we will absolve you of all your records and give you a reward, and you can live a new life. So now he's watching this, but he sees his armed guards watching this too. So he's like being paranoid. He's like, who's on my side now? right? $100 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second, because I'm here trying to. I'm typing away furiously. My wrists. I gotta go to the gym and like strengthen my wrists and my forearms. I'm typing away like a madman. Let me just say this: when we go to tell this, like the whole thing through. Let me do the beginning portion.
All right.
Kind of embellish a little bit, but I think it'll be interesting to hear. Price has now placed on his head.
He's terrified, paranoid.
So what I want to elaborate on. So we're in Nigeria. We see a man. I kind of wrote the little TV scene, but I just need to put out this little scene here. A couple notes just on. We're in Nigeria. We see him. We have him finishing a deal, or was he like just living his lifestyle?
Now we show like the finishing of the deal. Then he goes to his lifestyle. We don't see who the unknown party is. It's kind of like a handshake in the shadows,
and they
type
don't
of
really
thing.
matter.
Yeah.
I see his lifestyle and money, cars, women, you know the deal, etc. We also see him giving away water for free. I will say, just if we were going further, we'd have to establish that water is the currency of this time period. Like, it's so scarce, and I don't think we've really made water seem like it's scarce just yet.
We could do that in the beginning
I was
before
going
everything
to say
starts.
the
Like one of
easiest
those
way.
like news stories things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just about to say the same
Yeah.
thing. I was like, actually, we could fix that just by showing some graphics of like water is now this much.
Through the years, it's like water, $10 a bottle. Water, $10 an ounce. $1,000 an ounce. Water worth more than gold?
Yeah,
Question mark.
exactly. All right. So,
Yes.
and then we have the rest of the stuff. All right, I stopped at he knows his henchmen, his guards, his whoever are listening / watching this as well. Um, it kind of has to start. So they're listening. They're watching. He can either try to explain himself or just be like, "I didn't kill him."
But I don't think they would care because they're looking at the $100 million bounty. And they're like, yeah, well, whether you kill them or not, there's $100 million on your head.
That's true too.
I feel like someone should try to kill him though.
But there should also be folks that are loyal.
I feel like here's an idea for a dynamic. Someone should try to kill him inside his home, like one of his workers or something.
Yeah,
But the right hand man, who's the informant, kills the assassin
protects him.
and protects him.
So let's say this. Hold on, before we get too far ahead of ourselves. At that same time, he can hear. So let's say he looks over and notices the guards listening too. Those guards don't have to act on anything, but we hear commotion outside the door, let's say, of the room. And don't forget, a guy in this age, he may have children and a wife. So we can also pull them into this, but we hear a commotion outside the door. It could be his wife and maybe a child, or just his wife. And then we have the issues of like people are trying to come at him. Or we hear the commotion outside his door, and then it's other guards who obviously heard the price tag trying to come get him, and his right hand man saves him. Because we're at 30 minutes, let's just say that's what it is and move the story along.
Yeah.
And then if we have more time, we can really put family dynamics into this more. So I'll say that the door breaks open. Let's just
Man,
say 100 mil alive, and
100 mil alive.
and
10 million on proof of death.
10 mil with proof of death. Yeah.
With proof of death. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm coming out with such
Yeah.
interesting ideas for this now in my head because I feel like there's like when we go to the part where we have to beat him down even more.
Yeah.
Before he starts rising like a phoenix, like he can, he's a wife. He is maybe has a wife and some kids, right? So he sends them away with someone just to keep them safe. But now his wife and kid are held hostage by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, they will. Of course, that's like if you're trying to get someone, you're going to use their wife and kids as leverage. I mean, that's an easy, and that's usually the first thing that people like this try to defend themselves against. So that way they don't have to make decisions based on their direct family being kidnapped and tortured or whatever. All right, then his right hand man comes in and saves his life. The right hand man tells him to go through X passageway, let's say. Got 27 minutes. I'm gonna try to get this in 27 minutes. So we'll start to skim down on details. His right hand man tells him to go through X passageway. It leads to a what do you call those? A helicopter landing. What do you call it? Helicopter landing pad or something like that?
Helicopter pad.
Helicopter pad. The pilot takes off. Right as in, I'm gonna make this man's life hell. Right as a RPG is fired from close distance,
Oh my gosh.
it misses. I just wanted to see him like this man is honest to God fighting for his life. They're shooting RPGs at this man. And by the graces of luck, it misses. All right. The helicopter flies off. Okay. Now, where does he land? What does he do next? Who? Ooh, all right. He probably has to turn. He probably has to turn to someone that he trusts. Somewhere has to be someone that he trusts, that he tries to clear his name and straighten this whole thing out.
Yeah, he is one of those characters that are just good at finding information.
Yeah. So Johnny lands in this.
Oh, he has a character that's good at finding information, but his right hand man kills him without Johnny finding out.
Bro, are you trying to make us lose?
Dude, we have to make his life horrible.
No,
Then we'll bring him back up.
that goes to put a timeout on that one because there has to be someone that they could die. Don't get me wrong, but they still need to be useful to him at some point. Because then you just have a story where everything goes to hell, and it's like, how do you even escape that? He needs someone, and then he can go to hell too. But lands in an area that seems inhabitable. The man comes out of the shadows. We don't know. All right, we got 24 minutes. I'm going to do, I think.
I'm writing a bunch of things down.
Just
I'll
do.
say them real quick in a bit.
All right.
Hold on.
That might have to work, and then just kind of plug them in.
This is like towards the middle,
Perfect.
towards the end almost.
Yeah, because I don't have any of that.
All right, so I just wrote
All right, go ahead.
I just wrote down ideas that all right, so his mission switches from trying to stay alive to saving his wife and kids because they're held hostage by somebody that he trusts, used to trust.
Okay. Who's right?
And then the right hand man, who's the informant, accompanies a Johnny through this entire mission to help him save his wife and kids. They show up to the supposed safe house where Johnny has to turn himself in to save his wife and kids. That's where some exchange happens where his wife and kids are guaranteed their safety and he has to turn himself in or do something.
Hold on. I think that's great. So here's what I'll say. I'm going to connect this beginning-ish piece with just in general, someone taking his wife and kids.
All right.
And then let's see. Ooh, this is interesting. You guys are seeing it first on this. How about this? I don't know where it's headed. I'll let you do that. I'm going to connect, or we could do that, or we can do this thing where we just kind of briefly, quickly discuss and then have it end. I'm going to connect, though, what I'm kind of writing down to basically his wife and kids being kidnapped and alluding to someone in his inner circle.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You tell that part, and I'll try to improv the second. And
that'd be hilarious. Oh man.
Yeah, let's do it and see what comes out.
All right. Man, having a time crunch is an interesting dynamic. Let me just say,
it is. I don't know if this ending's good, but I'm gonna roll with it and just see how it turns out.
I'll just say this, just so that way it can help bridge that gap. And I think it still makes it interesting. I'm gonna say something along the lines of his buddy is gonna say, maybe he can broker a deal to save his family. It's kind of vague. Whether he's involved or not, I won't even speculate. But I'm going to accept the idea that maybe he thinks maybe he can do something to help him. I don't know.
So is this person who kidnaps his wife and kids brokering a deal?
I don't know.
In favor of the government or for himself? I'll give you your wife and kids, but you gotta give me half the springs.
That's a good point. I don't know. I'll let you pick. I'll say this since you brought it up. I think brokering a deal that could help the other party, a Johnny, and also provide them with. Listen, it's a dog eat dog world.
All right, I got it.
A Johnny here got to this through blood. He shouldn't be surprised or be a stranger to violence as a means to get yourself in a better position, right?
I got it. All right, I got it.
All right.
I think I have a good idea.
Hold on.
I gotta generate another name. Hold on.
We're over here.
What are we at for time?
18 minutes.
Oh, good.
And see, people, you can definitely have fun with story. I'm telling you can. I'm going to write a part that you haven't heard yet, and that's okay.
That's going to make this interesting.
But I think it's needed in order to help tie the story together or something similar to it. All right, 16 minutes. I need to focus.
Oh, boy. This ending is going to be interesting. Now, this is going to be a first, people. Dave has no idea how I'm going to end this story, and I have no idea how the middle is going to go. So, it's literally we're going to mash two things together and see how it comes out.
I still got 15 minutes, so yeah, you got some time. Elaborate. That's also what makes me scared. The more details, where the story won't mesh. But you know,
Oh, we could put so many details in this.
oh, it's
I could think of like 100 different interesting scenes that we should definitely have if we were, to do this right.
yeah.
This is fun. All right, so I'm thinking once it hits like 15 or 10 minutes, we should start telling the story just so we can make the time.
Right now we're at 13 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah. I do like this direction we're going. We're like improving the show
Yeah.
as we go on. We gotta figure out. I do like this how we're just creating. You're creating a beginning. I'm creating an end. I'm just wondering how to fill like the gaps of silence in between while we're
Oh,
while we're writing down all these
yeah.
ideas.
I mean, hey, this is something that I think. Listen, everyone's heard kind of our thought process as we were working through it, and then we have our towards the end wrapping. Quickly trying to grab this, but I think I think we can start. Let's start telling the story outline, and then
Yeah.
we'll see what we got, and then we can plug in gaps as we still have time.
All right. That sounds good.
All right, let me just go ahead and start.
All right. Let's do it.
So this is. Do you want to give it an intro? I know you usually give something.
All right. Yeah. So to recap for everyone, the 5 words we were given were terrify, cellar, grip, straighten, and toss. Our goal is to make a functional story out of this. We did it a little bit differently this time. Dave has written the beginning and middle. I took care of the tail end. I have no idea what Dave has written. Dave has no idea what I've written. So we're just gonna mash what we have together and see if it comes out as a coherent story. So Dave, why don't you take us off and start this story?
All right. So we start off in the future, right? And what we see is glimpses on TV, on newscasts, on news stories. Uh, the concept and the idea that water has now become scarce in this time frame. We're in 2053. Water is scarce. Water is worth more than gold, etc. So we start off with these news pops of various stories and titles about how water is now the number one commodity. We begin with our friend Ross sitting in his room, a few million bucks hit his bank account or his crypto account. All of a sudden, there's a click at the door. Ross looks over. Just like that, the door gets blown off the hinges. CIA agents rush into the room. Ross takes off running. He gets to the fire escape. He slides down. Pop! Gets punched, handcuffed, etc., and loaded into the back of the van. The CIA take him to their headquarters or their offsite. They begin to sweat him. Through this, Ross tells them that his seller is a Johnny. The agents look at each other confused. We are now in Nigeria. We see a Johnny is finishing a deal, shaking hands. We get a sense of his lifestyle, money, cars, women, etc. We see him giving away water for free to the local community and other African nations. Later on that day, as he finishes one deal, it's like going to the next. A British dealer is awaiting him in the patio. They have a quick convo, but the British dealer asks him why he doesn't sell directly to governments in Western countries. Johnny explains that for years Western societies plundered African nations for their resources. Why should he help them? He's already selling water to their people outside the regulations, and to him that's enough help. The British dealer says he thinks he's wrong. Johnny looks at him in a fit of rage. He wants to kill this man, perhaps. Instead, he calms down. He calms down and tells him he won't take what he says as an insult. Perhaps the British man understood, perhaps not. Later on in that evening, After all these deals have been completed, Johnny turns on the television. He goes to the various stations, soccer or football, and other comedy bits, to when he stops on the screen of the local news. He sees that the president of Nigeria has been assassinated. There's much speculation, but then all of a sudden, a picture of him shows up. He's shocked. This can't be, he says, or what is going on? At the bottom, it said that there's a price tag of 100 million. Making a quick revision edit in real time, that would never happen. He's shocked on the television. A phone call happens. His right hand man picks it up. Are you sure? Okay, I'll let him know. Johnny is told 100 million alive bounty is placed on his head. 10 million with proof of death. He notices his guards are watching the television too and overheard this information. We hear a commotion outside the door. The door breaks open and it's his men trying to capture him. Johnny, apparently this news has spread past this phone call. Johnny gets up and tries to run. His old men try to stop him. He then goes to fight him, but it's a losing battle. His right hand man comes in and saves his life by killing 2 or 3 of these men. The right hand man tells him to go through the X passageway. It leads to a helicopter pad. Get on. There's a helicopter waiting for him. Pilot takes off right as an RPG is being fired at close distance, but it misses. It flies off into the night. It's now day. The helicopter is flying over desert sands. Johnny lands in an area that seems uninhabitable. A man lurks out of the shadows. We don't know whether he's a friend or foe. Johnny gets off the helicopter and walks over to this strange man. The strange man extends his hand, and they greet each other. As they walk together, the man explains that the U.S. has now taken over his water supplies. And to make matters worse, his kids have been taken hostage. Johnny is beside himself. He wants to know where his kids and the rest of his family has been taken. His friend says he's unsure where they've been taken, but they will need to get out of the desert and back into the city if they are to have any hope in finding them. Perhaps he can broker a deal to save his family. And I'll leave it right there.
All right. So, Johnny's wife and kids have been taken by a man named Aminu, who just happens to be working with the person who greeted Johnny, but he doesn't know that yet. So, Johnny finds this information, finds out that Aminu has his wife and kids. Maybe an informant comes by and lets Johnny know to meet Aminu on his island. Johnny is still with his right-hand man, Kubra. So they go to this unmarked location on this island through boat. They take a speedboat over to the shack. They enter the safe house. It's dark. Johnny sees his wife and kids. They get excited to see him, but they're guarded by a man with an AK. And Aminu's like, the U.S. government has asked me to help capture you. And I'm willing to let your wife and kids go if you turn yourself in and come with me. And Johnny's like, Aminu, we've done business for so many years. How could you do this to me? Aminu's like, business is business. $100 million is a lot of money. And Johnny says, I have something that might be, what if I can give you something that's worth more than $100 million? And Aminu says, I'm listening. He says, I'll give you 80% of my water sources in Nigeria if you release my wife and kids. Now Aminu's interested. He's like, okay. I also want your distribution channels too. I want all your contacts. I want contacts of everyone you do business with, all your routes, whatever. And then maybe we could come to a deal. And Johnny says, okay, but you have to help my family and I get away safely. And they go to shake hands. Then you hear a bang, 2 shots fired. Aminu gets shot, and the guard by Johnny's wife and kids also gets shot. Johnny turns around. It's his right man hand, Kubra. He's holding a pistol. He's killed Aminu and he's killed the guard. And he reveals himself. I'm Agent Kubra. You're under arrest, Johnny. You can't escape now. We have you. I've been leaking my location this entire time to the CIA. They'll be here soon. Just come with us peacefully. We can do a deal where your wife and kids get out safely, but you're going to be spending the rest of your life in prison for crimes against humanity and illegal water distribution. Now, Johnny and Kubra have been working together for years, and he had no idea. Kubra has been in this operation for years. He's been undercover. Johnny can't believe it. He's got his hands on his head. And then we hear a bang. Kubra's been shot now. Now, who's shot Kubra? It's Johnny's kid who just got a gun from the dead guard. He picked it up and shot Kubra. Johnny goes over and takes the AK from his son, his 7-year-old son, points it at Kubra's head. He's about to shoot him, and then just spares him. Why? I don't know. Just spares him.
Okay.
Gets out with his wife and kids. Escapes on the speedboat. Time goes by quicker. We see him on a ship. He's just getting off with a bunch of other, it looks like refugees. You know, they got hoods over them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Looks like they're trying to escape. Years later, we see Johnny on a farm. He's not in a mansion anymore. Doesn't have fancy cars. He's living a modest lifestyle on a farm.
Yeah.
Someone knocks at his door. It's a person that usually buys crops from him. This time he's not buying crops. This time this person pulls out a gun and says, I know who you are. And then he has the gun pointed at Johnny, but then this person gets shot. And then who shoots this person? None other than Kubra. Years later, he's found Johnny. And Kubra looks at Johnny and says, now we're even. And then the story ends.
With 1 minute to go. That's pretty good. I mean, there's so many holes, but I mean, for the first draft of a story, like, that's very entertaining and interesting.
That was fun. That was challenging. I was like, all right, you're gonna leave me in the middle of a city. I was like, all right, I have to improv that and see, because I had them where they were in the safe house.
Yeah,
Amino had them hostage. I had all that planned out.
I put them in the desert somewhere to come back to the city. I mean, thank God I did. I said that, or some kind of way to get back to civilization to like recoup his stuff. I think it kind of picks up pretty well. I think it picks up pretty well. Yeah. No.
I just had a lot of people getting shot.
Yeah.
And just some plot twists.
And in that time, there it is.
All right. There's our story.
There's a timer.
What you think?
Yeah.
That was an interesting one. That was an interesting one.
That was interesting. I think I'm actually really happy with. I mean, listen, there's so many plot holes. It's almost comical. But as the basis, or just the clay for something, like the story itself can be developed into something.
I think it's entertaining.
Very entertaining. Yeah,
developed into something. Yeah,
very good stuff. And And listen, we use the words. I mean, it's a lot of terrifying incidents. Man's a seller, and that's grip. He lost his grip. He had his
Yeah.
grip on his fortune and his whatever. Lost it. He tossed away.
Seems like he
Life.
straightened out his life in the end,
Yeah,
but the past comes back.
and he
There's
had.
still a bounty on his head because he's never been caught.
That's
And
right.
then somehow
And
this
he
person
had to
figures out who
toss
he is.
away his old life, in order to
Yeah.
kind of live more modest and I guess find something that's more peaceful, right? Or hide in plain sight, so to speak. That's an interesting story. I think to do it, and like I always say, for every recording, pretty much so far, to do it justice, we would have to spend some time on these concepts and themes, but sometimes you just got to throw it out there and then you see what
Yeah.
sticks. You'll see what sticks, and some things will be shedded off. Some things you have to develop further to really kind of make it work. Yeah, but that was great fun. That was awesome.
Yeah. And also, like, good writing is always rewriting, right?
Ah, yes.
But,
Famous words.
Hemingway always says, get out the shitty drafts first. I think that was Hemingway. But
I think a lot of them would agree. You gotta just put it out, and you'll see what works.
yeah, but I think our first draft was entertaining.
Yeah.
And now let's see what our AI overlords come up with. So I'm going to go to Chat GPT and see what this thing can spit out. And see if Dave and I are keeping our jobs as writers. But I'm seeing this as an L. There's no way this AI is gonna come up with a story like that. So let me share my screen.
No, this story is good.
All right, so basically, can you make a story using the words terrify, seller, grip, straighten, and toss as themes or words as themes incorporated in the story? And just for fun, also throw in some violence in the plot. I'm just curious.
You should throw some violence. Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Let's see what we got here.
Oh no. Look at this thing go.
Oh, it is pumping out a story here.
I know. Last time we did this, it just it made a really short and generic story. But this time, it's got dialogue. It's got
you put in that murder aspect.
Yeah, I just told it to throw in some violence. Now it's going in.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let me read this from the top. Once upon a time, there was a seller who was known for his dark wares. Similar to how we wanted to start it,
Yeah.
he sold items that were said to have been cursed.
Oh,
And many people avoided him because of this. Okay, interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
One day, a brave woman named Maria decided to confront the seller, and ask him to stop spreading fear with his cursed items. She entered his shop, her heart pounding with fear and determination. As she approached the seller, she noticed that he had a tight grip on a strange-looking object. Oh, what is it? She asked him what it was, and he sneered at her. It's a cursed object that will terrify anyone who looks at it, he said, holding it up for her to see. Maria felt a wave of fear wash over her, but she refused to back down. She straightened her spine and spoke in a strong, clear voice. I don't believe in curses, and I don't think you should be selling these items to people, she said. The seller's face twisted with anger, and he lunged at Maria, trying to grab her. She managed to dodge him and reached for the cursed object, determined to take it away from him. As she struggled with the seller, the object slipped from his grip and flew across the room. Maria quickly grabbed it and tossed it out the window, hoping to get rid of it for good. They live on a cliff or something, or in the ocean.
Exactly, right? Man, it's just gonna go downstairs and go get it, right?
Yeah, the neighbor's just going to pick it up. Anyway, the seller let out a cry of rage and lunged at Maria again, but she was ready for him. She fought back with all her strength, using her fists and feet to fend him off. Oh, okay, she's an MMA fighter. You didn't know. In the end, Maria was able to defeat the seller and stop him from spreading fear and terror with his cursed items. She felt a sense of satisfaction and triumph as she left the shop, knowing that she had done the right thing.
Okay.
Well, as interesting as that was as a story itself, with some plot turns, Maria was an MMA fighter. The seller didn't know. She'd been training kickboxing.
Right.
In anticipation of the day where she confronts this cursed item seller.
Dana White has been talking in her ear for all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. All right.
But I'm going to say that story was not nearly as entertaining as ours.
No.
And that's just another win for man. But let us know what you think. Who actually won? Answer's pretty obvious to us, but let us know. Let us know what you think of our story with a Johnny, the water overlord in Nigeria, the Nigerian water overlord. There you go. His journey to save his wife and kids, keep his operations going.
Yeah.
And we will talk next week with a new set of words and a new story.
That's right. All right, everyone.